The 54th Eurovision is kicking off in Moscow with the grand opening ceremony taking place ahead of next week's final. Our team's Alexei Yarashevsky is there and he joins us now live from central Moscow. Alexei, hello to you. So, after half a century, Eurovision has finally come to Russia. What are we to expect?
From all points of view, from all we have seen so far, Anna, we're in for definitely a big show. Even though Eurovision has just kicked off, prior to its beginning, it's already been described as the biggest and most expensive show in the 54 years of history of this competition. Indeed, the setting, the stage itself at the Olympiysky Stadium alone is estimated at about $42 million. That is indeed a lot. Now, we also know that representatives of all 42 countries, performers from all European countries are here in Moscow, as well as thousands of guests and members of delegations, and they're all attending an opening ceremony which has just kicked off in this building behind me in downtown Moscow. Now, we understand that performers of the past Eurovision contest, winners of the past Eurovision contest, are hitting the scene tonight here at Manezhnaya Square in Moscow. The performers which won last year, Dima Bilan, who won this Eurovision contest for Russia and of course brought this contest to Moscow, will be performing alongside winners of the past, including Ukrainian singer Ruslana, who won Eurovision Song Contest 5 years ago, and even the first ever winner of Eurovision from Switzerland, which won the Eurovision contest in 1956, is also performing here tonight. It's a big ceremony, but of course we're in for a week or so of the concerts in the Olympiysky Center in Moscow, and of course Russia Today will be keeping you up to date with all what is happening at the Eurovision Song Contest.
Alexei, they say that this year's contest is being as politicized as ever. What have been the battlegrounds?
Indeed, the Eurovision Song Contest has been a target for criticism from many music critics around the planet, mainly because people accuse the Eurovision Song Contest of being biased, politically biased, in particular when countries, they vote for other countries, not in terms of the quality of how performers were singing, but for political reasons. The perfect example to that, according to critics, is former Yugoslavia countries, which vote for each other regardless of how the singers perform. This year, of course, Eurovision Song Contest has already seen a scandal involving the Georgian performers with their song I Don't Want to Put In, has been criticized in Russia for being politically driven, but still there is another angle to this in this particular time, this time around in Eurovision Song Contest in Moscow, with we're knowing of a strain in relations between Britain and Russia. At the same time, some critics say that Eurovision Song Contest may well pave way for improving of relations and may turn things around. I believe my colleague Katerina Grachova in her report can explain the details in full. Let's watch this report right now.
To this fragile beauty to restore or completely ruin Britain's reputation in the Eurovision Song Contest. The country's result record is up and down. The United Kingdom has won on 5 occasions in the competition's history, but came last several times too. Its most recent failure was in 2008 in Belgrade. All this despite the UK automatically qualifying for the final, as it's one of the 4 countries which puts the most cash into the contest. From London with a Sicilian father and a mother with Jamaican roots, Jade Ewen hopes to change the results history. She thinks the Russian venue will work to her advantage.
Actually, coming to Russia was the best reception that I've had going throughout the whole of Europe, because when I finished singing they all stood up and gave massive cheers and applauses.
This time Great Britain is taking its Eurovision mission very seriously. Composer Andrew Lloyd Webber himself was recruited for the job.
There comes a time when everyone must do their duty. Your country needs you. Thank you and good evening.
The author of hit musicals Cats and Jesus Christ Superstar was so desperate for his contestant to be at the top of the list, he even secured an interview with the Russian Prime Minister.
Well, can I ask you, please, in that circumstance, can Russia vote for Britain?
Yeah. I personally am prepared to do so, but you should turn to Russian viewers with such a request.
Some in the British press, though, were furious over Weber's PR job. What we really want to know, wrote The Telegraph, is what has Lord Weber promised in return: to compose a musical in honor of the greatest living Russian, titled Vladimir Putin Superstar. The Oscar-winning composer was straightforward in his response. He even blamed his employer for lack of support. The BBC would prefer me to come second. If we win, we shall have to host next year's show, and it's going to cost £25 million. British contestant Jade might not have received a royal reception like the composer of your song, Andrew Lloyd Webber, but compared to other Eurovision acts, she's been definitely enjoying the most aggressive media campaign in the Russian press. Екатерина Грачева, RT, Moscow.